Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Wrestling Weekend Recap. We bring you the good, the bad, and the latest inside news this week from what took place with Monday Night Raw, NXT 2.0, AEW Dynamite, Impact Wrestling on Access TV, Friday Night SmackDown, and AEW Rampage. With the one and only Jade, I am Ace Mon X, and we're here to bring you our infamous disclaimer, pretty much stating that everything that we say and state is strictly our opinion, and it does not necessarily reflect the views of the platform that we're on or the wrestling companies that we talk about. And now, don't have a cow, man. Another pretty exciting week took place. We're not that far from the draft events that will take place beginning next week, right?
Yes.
With Friday Night SmackDown first. They'll be doing the draft first, and then Monday Night Raw will conclude with the second part of the draft. So normally when it comes to stories, we would actually mention the ones that actually got to us and we would react to. But there's one actually that just got out on the wire several numerous hours ago, headlining about Jonathan Coachman explaining how he helped WWE land $1 billion TV deal with Fox. Now, when it comes to SmackDown, well, pretty much WWE in general with Fox, I heard the latest stories that obviously they're in somewhat of a strained relationship of sorts because lately SmackDown hasn't been producing the numbers that Fox has been expecting. And it's understandable too because, of course, with obviously with everything that had to do with the pandemic and just recently with, crowds now coming out to these events. Obviously, it's been one heck of a switcheroo transition of sorts, but hopefully WWE can make it up to Fox somehow and come up with certain ideas for them to bounce back when it comes to ratings numbers for prime time on Friday nights. But once once they do come up with certain ideas, I'm pretty sure they will bounce back the way they should. Nonetheless, we're going to jump into the story about how Jonathan Coachman helped WWE land $1 billion TV deal with Fox. So the story starts this way. It states Jonathan Coachman is not happy with the way things ended with WWE. His original run with WWE lasted from 1999 to 2008. During that time, he worked as a commentator, interviewer, authority figure, and more. He would leave WWE in 2008, going to ESPN. After making various appearances throughout the years, he returned to WWE in 2018 as part of the Raw commentary team alongside Michael Cole and Corey Graves. He would, however, leave later that year, though. During a recent Q&A session on the Ad-Free Show's Patreon page, one which he dubbed The Final Time He Talks About Wrestling, Coach spoke about all the work he did for Vince McMahon and the XFL and how the company bounced a large check on him. To make matters worse, his contract with WWE was cut the very next week. With a bitter taste left in his mouth, the coach later added that he would not accept an invitation to be inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame, and here's why. He stated, and I quote, "No, I would not, and here's why. Until they make it right, and I don't even know if the money would make it right at this point, because sometimes in life, you got to do what's right at that moment. When people are facing a pandemic and you don't know, and I'm one of the lucky ones, I'm one of the lucky ones, but there were so many people that got laid off or worse, furloughed. When you're furloughed, you make no money. You got $1 billion in the bank, and yet you're furloughing all these people. What I would have done is, if somebody is making 100,000, you go to two people and say, would you rather make 50 for the next 4 or 5 months till we get through this? Or one of you makes 100 and the other makes zero and is furloughed? What do you think both people would have done? They would have taken the 50,000 and still had an income. But that's not what they did. You can't treat people that way. So I wouldn't even want to hear anything they would have to say to me at this point. Do you think I'm worthy? There's no question. I mean, the things that I've done in the different roles that I played and my longevity, certainly I think I belong in there. But also remember this, there's not actually a physical Hall of Fame. It's not like I'd be losing a bust somewhere. So, it's a nice thought to be a Hall of Famer. But to me, I don't want the award from people that after 20 years can do that. I just have no desire to do that. No, I would not accept it. Asked whether or not an apology from Vince McMahon would make the situation any better, Coachman stated that he wasn't sure, but that he also didn't think it would ever happen. He then proceeded to explain how he was working at ESPN. He helped WWE land their $1 billion TV deal with Fox. Coach put his career on the line for WWE and doesn't believe they appreciate the risk he took for them. He said, and I quote, I don't know. I don't know. First of all, I don't think would happen, he began by saying. I just don't think Vince cares enough to try to rekindle what I had or what I did for them. I don't think people quite understand what I did for him. Let me be clear. In 2015, when the TV contracts were coming up and they, WWE, negotiating with USA and all these places, I got a phone call at 3 a.m. It was Vince's right hand man, and he said to me, Coach, you got to get our content on ESPN. We got TV deals that are coming up. We got to have leverage. We got to be able to have other places look at our content to increase our value. So I went in and I fought and I fought and I fought. And I was starting to make enemies in the executives at ESPN to fight for Vince and everything that they wanted because I was so loyal. That was my mistake. I created what we called Coach's Crew. It was me and 5 dudes at ESPN that were amazing. They had all different roles at ESPN, but we had to do it on our own time. ESPN was like, listen, you guys can do this. We'll put it on Sports Center, but you're going to do it on your own time. We were cool with that. We were absolutely cool with that. So we were able to get 10 to 12 minutes of content on Sports Center every single Tuesday with all the top stars. We even started feuds on Sports Center that they used on Raw and SmackDown leading into WrestleMania. Then to have everything unfold the way that it did, then all of a sudden you have a Fox deal for $1 billion. Well, guess what was a big, big part of the video that they sold to Fox and said, listen, if mainstream viewers can accept this, then so can you. Then so can you. Then what happened was in April of 2017, we decided to stop that to see if ESPN wanted that content. We just stopped cold. They really showed no interest, so we knew we didn't need to go down that road. This is all stuff that I did personally. So when that deal was done and the president, whoever it was at the time, gave us credit, me and my crew for helping get a $1 billion deal at Fox because we got their content on SportsCenter when it had never been done before. Not even close. We made it happen. Then you want to do that later? How quickly you forgot all the phone calls I took in the middle of the night, all the things that we did, all the stuff that I said yes to. We weren't even supposed to start feuds on SportsCenter. That was a directive that you can't because they didn't want any fake storylines started on a real sports show. That's how hard that was to do, but we were still able to do it because my bosses couldn't figure it out. People remember that the Goldberg and Brock Lesnar feud. We started that on Sports Center, and my bosses didn't even know because we were so good at doing it. So when you do all of that and you put that ahead of my career at ESPN, and that's essentially what I did, and then to have them turn their backs on me like that, again, is it about the money? Probably 10%, but I'm good. So 90% is about how I was treated and how they treated others. I'll never get over that. You can't do that, and I don't know why you want your legacy to be that either, because that's what is right, because that's what it is right now. So since the start of the COVID-19 pandemic, WWE made sizable cuts to their staff both in front and behind the camera. Coachman currently works for CBS Sports and others. You can read his comments about his 2018 WWE run on Fightful.com and how Corey Graves didn't want him on the commentary booth. Ooh. And that is the story. Of course, you can read that over on Fightful.com. Of course, that's Fightful Select. And yeah, I mean, my reaction to this story, I think, yeah, it is pretty cool because my opinion on Coach as a character on WWE, um, Coach was cool as a commentator. You know, we got to see more of Coach as he became an actual character later down along the line. I think later he became a character. What, in like 2002,
Yeah.
2004, way beyond that.
Yeah.
Then we hated the guy because he was getting the boos and deservingly. So obviously Coach, he was getting the reactions, he was getting heat. So Coach became a character in WWE, and that was awesome that he finally got accepted, whether booed or cheered from the WWE fandom. Um, but having to hear all of this stuff from now in a position where he goes out of his way because WWE gave him the chance to blossom from commentator to sports entertainer, and having to be, in good terms with the company. And now with Coach having to excel at his profession, being a commentator on ESPN, and now with CBS and all that. But at the time when he was on ESPN, obviously, I guess it seemed like he had pull where he can slip in some Mickeys as far as footages from WWE. Especially, I recall where they did the Goldberg and Brock Lesnar feud for WrestleMania, which was never been done before, never heard of until Raw did a plug that their footage was shown on ESPN when it came to Goldberg and Lesnar. But anyway, yeah, um, Coach having that pull to get TV deals when WWE, obviously, WWE, first of all, should have been responsible for taking care of their own commitments, for taking care of their obligations, their contracts when it comes to TV deals. So I don't know why Coach really had to go out of his way and help WWE to do so, to be honest, just to get shafted like the way he did. He should have known better. But then again, he should have seen the timetable of everything. How the energy was in the company and all of that. He had to measure everything. He had to feel everything through. If WWE was already desperate to see where the heck they were going to land TV wise with Raw and SmackDown and NXT at that point, then they should have had all that figured out instead of having to call Coach at 3 in the morning to oh, see if you can talk to so and so from Fox or so and so from this station or so and so from this network to see if they'd be interested in WWE and acquiring content or to produce content or whatnot, for their station, so that WWE can have somewhere for them to be shown. And I get that they have to do that, because otherwise, if they don't get put on a platform where they can be seen on cable, then they practically don't have anything anymore. But the fact that Coach went out of his way, because obviously, he will always be grateful to WWE for giving him the chance to have been somebody, during the time that he was there. But then to get mistreated and not give him the credit, his how do you call it, his that they don't give him his deserved due. I mean, that's just cold. But now he realized that that was his major mistake, and somewhere somehow along the way, WWE's got to get their act together and make it right by him, because yeah, uh, Jonathan Coachman had that pull with TV execs, whoever he had the contacts, at the palm of his hand, or that he knew people within the industry. You know, you got to do it right by him. Because otherwise, WWE wouldn't even be seen on Fox right now. God knows where SmackDown would have ended up. They probably would have it could have ended up on USA, or they could have ended up on some other network. You know, but rest assured, they wouldn't be seen on Fox right now.
The one thing I have to attest to is that regarding WWE, the only reason why WWE doesn't get enough exposure is because evidently they had to involve other figures from the sports world as well as the entertainment world, but that rarely gets the WWE the so-called recognition that they had going back to the latter days of the Monday Night War when Coach was released from the company in 2008. He pretty much was excelling in his new endeavor at ESPN, and pretty much it's uncertain as to why someone from the front offices of WWE said we got to find a way to air our content, but so you can find a way to air our content on ESPN that we can bring more eyeballs, because I really that's the main reason. You got to find a way to bring eyeballs to you. It's just that pretty much Coach was pretty much used as the whipping boy for the company, as a way not so much when he was working for them, but even after company. I mean, Coach was pretty much saying, "Oh yeah," uh, in a way, he's like he wants to see the company thrive and continue doing the things that they do, and and to say we help plug our product, and and that way for executives at 20th Century Fox or Fox Broadcasting to say maybe we could small potential. I mean, this show was on network television before, and they said we can find a way to bring it back to network television. But I agree on the fact that say what was WWE right in letting Coach go on account of technicalities or for cause or whatever. In a way, no. I mean, evidently when the pandemic took place, it just rocked everybody. It's like, but right now they pretty much said we gotta draw straws, or whomever the brass thinks can continue on, and that is why they say, oh, by their frame of mind, they pretty much say, oh, we can't afford to keep this guy, and quite frankly, but it goes back to like how WWE got their exposure facts, how Vince McMahon sold this network to Peacock. It's clearly evident that the McMahon family is all about money. At the same time, you have to you pretty much nurture and give your personnel the just do, because they're working hard. Everybody, the talent, the ring crew, those that work at the office, everybody's got to pay the just do and be valued for what they've done. Do I agree with how WWE treated Coach for helping them get their television deal for SmackDown to air on Fox in a way now. And I don't blame Coach one bit for saying, "Oh yeah, you're offering me a spot on the Hall of Fame," but he turns it down because he said, I wouldn't bet for you guys, even though I still work at another I still part of another endeavor. I pretty much put myself at risk just to help WWE. And he was expecting some sort of compensation or whatever, maybe even well, I'm gonna send I'm gonna send the like say they let him go, but at least he could have said, "Give me at least $1,000." I mean, you're rich, but nonetheless, um, what happened to Jonathan, what happened to Coach was very lousy. At least the man should have been compensated for nearly sacrificing his stint on ESPN to help make sure WWE stays afloat and relevant towards audiences.
Yeah, so like I stated before, hopefully WWE finds a way to make it up to Coach. And I know they're not going to do it anytime soon. Obviously, that's going to happen on WWE's time. Probably could happen months from now, years from now, God knows when. Because when it comes to situations like that, um, in the business, they say never. But obviously, there's going to come a time where all of that has to get settled. Um, because already so many negativity stuff has come out of the limelight with WWE. Um, this was one. Um, the that airplane from hell that took place in 2012. That's still the talk of the town with that episode of Dark Side of the Ring. As they were heading for insurrection in the UK at the time. I mean, just so many stories that it's like I wish I wouldn't even hear, but no, they had to bring it out into the limelight so that the public can, you know, knew what the heck would happen, even if it was 10 years ago or just recently or happened several months ago, 6 months ago, maybe a year ago. God knows how long, uh, whatever events took place, and you know, fans have to know it at this point in time by now. All right, so before we close that out, if you want to check out the entire story, of course, that was from Fightful Select. Check out Fightful.com for that exclusive story. So as we move on, we're gonna do something different since we're near Extreme Rules. It's gonna be tomorrow night on Peacock. We're gonna talk about everything that happened with Dynamite and Rampage first. Then we'll get into Impact. Then of course we'll get into the matches that are gonna be on the card for Extreme Rules for tomorrow night. So of course this week's AEW Dynamite and Rampage took place from New York City. What was the name of that stadium where they did the shows?
Arthur Ashe.
Arthur Ashe. It was a pretty cool venue, even though the set obviously looked a little bit different. Nonetheless, you know, obviously both shows they did pretty good. I'll get into specifics when it comes to Rampage because there were things that I did not like, and I gotta state my opinion about that. But nonetheless, how they open up Dynamite, it was a thing of beauty. We witnessed Omega and Danielson have their one-on-one matchup, the dream matchup that everybody wanted to see. Um, it delivered to expectation. Now, my only hope of what we witnessed is that we can get another match with them too. They top that one off, and hopefully the AEW title gets involved. And that would complete the picture of the ultimate fantasy matchup with them two involved, for sure. Um, my favorite match was, of course, the tag team bout with FTR going up against Sting and Darby Allin. FTR coming out with the NWO font, which in a way I didn't appreciate it, but second of it, it was old school, but not the old school of what they would normally represent, but that was just like a tick off to Sting, because obviously, going back to what Sting has endured with the NWO back in the good old days of the Monday Night Wars, there'll always be a trip back, and one of the best times in the time frame of sports entertainment history. Like I said, it was a great matchup. Um, FTR really took it to Sting and Darby Allin, but they returned fire, and boy, they delivered a huge pack of wallops all around. But at the end, Sting and Darby Allin pulled it off and walked out with the win. Um, a little bit of a twist with the match of Malachi Black and Cody Rhodes, because all of a sudden we were sensing from the fans starting to boo the American Nightmare. At first I didn't know why, but it's like, okay, I guess maybe for the fact that Cody is, he's spreading himself around, kind of thick, being another television programming with Turner and stuff. He's getting his own reality show, which will debut next Wednesday after Dynamite on TNT. And, we'll definitely tune into that. And, we wish Cody and Brandon the best with that reality series. I know it's going to be a huge payoff, because now we finally get to see some behind the scenes of what took place with AEW from its inception all the way up to this point. And obviously that will go on as, the episodes and the seasons, get into deeper rooted story of what happens on their everyday lives, and bases on the touch up of their business endeavors and all that such. But yeah, that's the one throw off that had me stumped, was the fact that people were booing Cody. But obviously, you're not gonna do the same for Malachi Black, because no matter how unorthodox Malachi Black is, he's still a stupendous wrestler. There's just something about him, even when we've seen him as Aleister Black, him obviously elevated to Malachi Black. There's just something good about this guy, and you cannot deny or put him, or put him in the corner somewhere or stash him into catering. No, it's like this guy is gifted with telling a story, backing up everything that he does in the ring, and he pulls his wins, because that's how this guy is hugely popular, if you know what I mean. Also, CM Punk came out to speak about his match, for Rampage 48 hours before it ever took place. And of course, he got a little bit of a sample from Powerhouse Hobbs, and we'll get into details of that match in just a bit. Ruby Soho gave it everything she got with her opportunity at the AEW Women's World Championship, and won Dr. Britt Baker, DMD. But nonetheless, from top to bottom, the Wednesday night show was just incredible. It was unbelievable. It was off the chart. Now, going into Rampage, I was glad that they did a 2-hour show, but the issue that I had was they should have never cut off the feed from the end of the 11 o'clock Eastern hour, and then from there fade out and then fade back on again. But then again, I realized that, it was taped. It was never live. So that I knew, but still, it's like you just might as well went on with the 2-hour show, have it all together, because even though it was only a second or 2 seconds of frame that was only missing, because at that point, it was the tag team match between Jericho and Hager going up against Men of the Year. I mean, I'll admit, I for one was really not all that much into it. I really wanted Jericho and Hager to get it over with, but then of course it led to where Daniel Lambert interfered, and that and Scorpio Sky and Ethan Page took the advantage of getting the pin and the win. And then that led to the rest of Lambert's team to annihilate Jericho and Jake Hager. And we got to see some of those stars getting in their shots, like Jorge Masvidal. He was the one that did that running knee shot,
Yeah.
and he packed a wall. He did pretty good. He literally just did something. So if you give that guy a shot to come out from the obscurity and give him an opportunity to shine, I'm pretty sure he'll take advantage of it and he'll make a go of it. That I know for sure. And then of course the one chick that gave Jericho some quick Lee May punches until he probably would have.
Tough. I forgot her name, but she was tough.
Oh yeah, she was tough as nails. That should be another one that should get an opportunity to mix it up with the women, because if she already let Jericho get, you know, be KO'd rapidly punched by this chick, it's like, whoa, that should not be ignored. That should not be put in the back burner or laid on paper as an idea. No, you gotta move on with that, and I make it go of that as well. So like I said, obviously cutting the 2 hour slot, couple of seconds of frame, just at the 11 o'clock Eastern hour, that was a negative. Another negative to me, there were matches that I was into so much because I liked the energy and I liked where everything was going at that point. Okay, let me state for the record first. The match with CM Punk and Powerhouse Hobbs, it was a good length in match. But a tidbit negative was obviously, Hobbs went slowly with the Frankensteiner. That was a little bit clumsy, and yes, that was somewhat botched. But other than that, the rest of the match was good, and we expected Punk to win, because this is his first this is his first match back on television since 2014. So everybody was expecting Punk to win. And I read on social media all the negative about the match, how supposedly they declared that Powerhouse Hobbs was buried at the hands of Punk. Let me clear it for the record. What we witnessed was Punk getting built up in AEW because he doesn't have a reputation in AEW. The reputation preceded him from WWE. You're building up CM Punk in AEW to have a legitimate cred in that company. That's how I see it. The fact that he already had been established from Ring of Honor and other indie shows before coming to WWE and now in AEW, that's all in the past. He just brings the memories with him, but that don't mean nothing necessarily in AEW here. He's building up in AEW so that he can land somewhere. And eventually there will come a time where he feels that he will lose an important match to a youngster that he'll feel can carry the load in AEW. So in the position of Hobbs, I wouldn't take it as a major loss. I would take it as a learning experience because I know they're going to get it on somewhere down along the line. And I bet you when Punk and Hobbs get it on once again, chances are Hobbs will win the match. That I know for sure. Or if this is CM Punk's win 2 in a row from Hobbs, then maybe after that, maybe Hobbs will win one over Punk. Cheatingly or fixed or whatever. But, Hobbs and Team Taz will redeem themselves at the hands of Punk somehow. May not happen this upcoming week. May not happen a week after that. Maybe it could be later on in the month. God knows. But I wouldn't take it as being buried. No. I would take this loss as a major learning curvature because wins and losses matters obviously in AEW. I would still like to believe that, even though I don't believe in that baloney anymore. But Hobbs will get his chance. Yeah, the fact that you can put down this big, massive guy who can beat up any jobber that he wants on any given day of the week, that ain't gonna make him any less of a superstar or any less of a prospect to become a superstar in the near future just because he got a loss to Punk. No, I don't see it that way. And I got to state that out because even some of those comments that I seen on social media kind of pissed me off because they don't know exactly how they're using the term being buried actually means. So, yeah, Punk got one over on Hobbs, and they used the first uh, that commercial picture to picture type of deal. So I get that for Punk and Hobbs, that's cool. But there were other opportunities of picture to picture that were wasted. For example, the two matches that I was into was the 8-man tag, and in the that 8-man tag involved Lucha
Mr.
Brothers,
Brothers.
Santana and Ortiz, and who
Yes.
were their opponents?
HFO.
HFO, um, Private Party,
Butcher and Blade.
Butcher, and the Blade. All of these four guys are standout guys, incredible tag teams, all four of them. And all of them, they were getting spots to demonstrate what they can do in the inside and outside of the ring. I was so into that match. Excuse me, I'm already getting into the hype of this. What really got me upset was the fact that they never bothered, whoever's booking the show, AEW never bothered to actually do a picture to picture when it came to that match or the match of the Super Click when they faced off Christian Cage and Jurassic Express. Yes. Those two matches I was into, but I was into more of the 8-man tag because, you got all these guys that were doing moves to each other, and vice versa. It was a very exciting match for me, especially how I'm glad that because we're in the month of Hispanic Heritage Month, Santana and Ortiz, the Lucha Brothers, they won their match, but still, the point was of that match, they were showcasing moves. I mean, they were so out of this world, man. It's like, damn it, we got a really good package here of something that you do not want to get up out of your seat and just watch it with so much attention. What really got me angry was the fact that they cut it to a commercial. I've been watching commercials, maybe 4 or 5 of them until they came back from commercials and then they resumed the match. No, what they could have done, they could have added the segment of the picture to picture right there because that was something that I was in tune of and they didn't. Same thing with the Super Click going against Christian Cage and Jurassic Express. That was another bomb of a match. Another bomb of a match. So they listed the other picture to pictures, and what were the other matches on the card?
The Lights Out was the main event. The Lights Out tag.
The Lights Out tag. They didn't even got a picture to picture either, did they?
No. And of course the women's match between Anna Jay and Penelope Ford.
So I think in that one they had a picture to picture. Yeah. Now, to be honest, I don't want to put Penelope Ford down or Anna Jay. I mean, it was awesome watching them as well, but something already told me that, with the involvement of the bunny, Penelope Ford was going to win that match. So, like, that match could have been somewhat done in whether 3-4 minutes, not even giving them a picture-to-picture commercial split, to be honest. That was kind of lousy. And it may sound like if I'm playing my own favoritism for where things should be divided and added into the bookings of the card for the show, but still, it's like I was so into the 8-man tag, hated that it just got commercial breaks, never a picture-to-picture to see what the heck was going on besides showing the commercials. With that match, the Super Click Christian Cage Jurassic Express match, that one was another bomb of a match as well. Those were the only matches that I was into for that card. And then there was others. But then also the main event, I was excited for the main event as well because that's how you should end the show as well. Suzuki Gun members, uh, the leader Minoru Suzuki and the Murder Hawk Monster, Lance Archer, they were giving hell to Eddie Kingston and John Moxley as best as they could. It may not have been like any other unsanctioned lights out match, but it was still pleasing. It was still something that you were into. Um, and still they were doing it in and outside of the ring, so it was chaos nonetheless. And then with the involvement of Homicide, it was cool to see Homicide in AEW. Homicide, we known him for having his time in TNA Wrestling, being paired up with Hernandez for LAX as they were the original LAX. And then when they took it to Santana and Ortiz later on with the Battle of the LAXs, new and old, it was awesome to see Homicide because we were wondering about that guy. Now it just makes me wish that Hernandez would have made his move to AEW, and I think we would have had LAX and AEW, and that would be a killer tag team. And we know how much of a tag team killers they really are because they left that legacy behind. Latinos kicking ass big time, Street Hood from New York, and they left a legacy behind. They were one of the greatest teams that TNA has ever seen, and I think them making a move to AEW together as LAX, that would be awesome. Or even if they rebranded with another different name, but still kind of like the LAX concept or something Latino concept of them together would be badass. But still, it was great that Homicide now, being on the side of Eddie Kingston, who he had a history with, now join up with John Moxley. That's going to be a real treat moving forward. And since they're talking about building these trios matches and maybe talking about trio championships, we're seeing these sets of these trio teams already into fruition. We're seeing that with Moxley, Homicide, and Kingston. We already see that with the Super Click. There's and AEW is experimenting with all these wrestlers to make them either tag teams or trios, and I think it's paying off to see, just the best chemistry being put together, and that makes it exciting, and hopefully that it can come true to see another expanding side of AEW and a whole new other division that WWE will never touch, that only you can see in Mexico, that you can see maybe in Japan. But it's always been the talk of the town in the States to see trios matches because it's a treat having to see just the normal 6-man tags and all of that. But like to go for championships, obviously that's going to be another whole new side and aspect of it. So that's going to be a real treat to see in the near future. But yeah, those were my issues with Rampage. But I love the fact that it was 2 hours. I just hated that they split it for a couple of frames of cut. It was never live. I get that. The picture-to-picture deal, they should have placed it for the 8-man tag that took place, and especially with the Super Click match when they faced Christian Cage and Jurassic Express, and the main event of Suzuki Gun versus Kingston and Moxley was just stupendous, man. They really are raising the volume yet again. So AEW, keep that up. Spend those little, except those little tidbits of negativity that I just brought there. I'm sure that's not going to stop them from what they really need to do. And especially AEW, before we closed out the AEW segment, I did mention that I saw on social media that now what I believe is going to be full circle with pro wrestling on the TBS networks. Dynamite, beginning January 5th of next year, is going to move to TBS, while Rampage still stays on TNT. Now, the only reason that being is because obviously now with the whole deal of the NHL being broadcasted on TNT, the season's about to start up. So instead of, I guess, doing Dynamites on Saturday nights, because I'm pretty sure they don't want to do that. They want to have wrestling on their Wednesday nights, but they're going to move it to TBS. And And it's kind of crazy because I pointed out to you when I mentioned this to you just days ago, how this is going to come full circle for TBS and pro wrestling, because pro wrestling got started on TBS long time ago. And if we ever to go back time, I guess that would be. Do you have an idea of when that might have taken place? Uh, TBS being aired or having to air pro wrestling on TBS
I
back
don't
then.
I don't really know because at the time when there was the NWA, the for those of you that not realize the NWA, not the current NWA but the real deal, to phrase it, was construed by many promotions scattered around the entire country, and as well as Canada, and they pretty much had their respective promotions broadcasting in certain markets. The promotion that broadcasted on what is now TBS was then known as Georgia Championship Wrestling. When pretty much to condense the story, when Vince McMahon was about to take over the entire landscape, he pretty much do everything is kind of say to subvert his competitors. Say, I'll give you an offer to say I'll buy you out and give you a market, because knowing full well that certain the promotions,
The Black Saturday incident.
yes, they were to compete at the time. To make this story short, top NWA talent were they pretty much the visuals for these respective promotions, and who was in charge of the world being, or pretty much had a certain stock of that promotion, were the Briscoe brothers. And around that time, Vince McMahon courted Joe Briscoe with lucrative offer, say, "You want to come aboard my company?" And said, "Yeah," but Vince said, "There's a proviso of sorts. You have to sell me your stock with the station." So that was what happened, and eventually WWE did short broadcasts with TBS, but due to a fallout with the fans, since they were not familiarized with since they're not familiar, they were familiarized completely with the NWA formula, which is they grew up loving. They were not keen on WWE be broadcasted on TBS. So because of that, it also caused a rift of sorts between him and Ted Turner, because Ted Turner had a studio where Georgia Championship Wrestling did their television shows, but because of WWE, and because of fear that the people of Atlanta would eventually start going after the WWE talent and possibly start hurting them and killing him, he chose not to, and that led to a bad fallout of sorts. And then stepped in came Crockett Promotions, who wanted their station back, because to them TBS was the bread and butter for the NWA. So then Crockett Promotions reacquired the NWA, but unfortunately, due to the momentum of the WWE, they were unable to sustain it, which is why Ted Turner bought the NWA and rebranded it as WCW. And of course, WCW pretty much that and what to became the Monday Night War. But once again, the it was the better brand that won, which was WWE. Now we fast forward like 18 years since what is now AEW is pretty much cooking with I guess I would say they're starting to cook with gas. Eventually,
They've been.
yeah, yes, they have. Eventually, those at Warner Media said it would be nice to have wrestling back on our airways. So therefore they gave the lucrative offer to AEW, and that is how they ended up getting Dynamite. But because of the fact that the Warner Media wants to broaden themselves more, since they're more of a sports related network, they pretty much have a lucrative deal inked with the NBA. So now they want to lure the NHL over to expand their I guess their portfolio of sorts with a network. But realizing that TBS has not broadcasted a show for over 20 years since the short-lived show, which was Thunder, which was supposedly meant to solidify WCW, but instead it caused its downfall. And they said, what better way to bring to solidify the meaning of pro wrestling on TBS by luring Dynamite over, since practically within a matter of time it's not going to have a platform to broadcast once the deal with NHL is solidified, and so therefore once Dynamite moves to TBS, it would be a good thing. and I'm sort of this is my opinion. Like I'm sort of dumbfounded as to why Rampage should now move to TBS, but well, right now it's pretty much it's pretty much raising the show Rampage that is. So hopefully it would solidify. But all I'm saying is that for those at Warner Media, they should be very conscientious with the moves that they make, and make sure that it benefits everybody, and including the AEW fans. They just want to make sure that they trust Tony Khan and those at AEW to ensure that they get the ratings they're looking for their future stars, solidify that foundation, because they have because you got some good stars, but the foundation is solidifying. But once that foundation is further solidified within AEW, Warner Media has pretty much got something worthy for people to watch.
Well, what was what brought them to the dance for them to be a solidifying network was pro wrestling. That's what started it all. Then, of course, once TBS really launched off, and then, of course, later on TNT, and then all these different, at the time, Time Warner Media channels, and then now Warner Media channels that are still going strong and has expanded. It's based on a lot of things, you know. But back in the time of WCW, it was different. It was a different time, different suits, different entities wanted a piece of Turner, and that's where everything went downhill. And even Ted Turner admitted that in one of the documentaries that I've seen in later years that I checked out on YouTube, because he was blinded about the idea of that he was going to be good with money, obviously, but the entities obviously they weren't going to last, and they didn't. Um, but WCW was already in the wrong place too. So if it would have been saved, then they probably would have had another different breather, different light, and a different type of run. But now with AEW at the helm, hopefully they take a view of where they're at, because like I mentioned before, it's starting to look like WCW again. But they got to realize where they're at and what they need to do in order not to fall into the same line as the old predecessor did. So Dynamite moves to TBS. So TBS gets wrestling again. Uh, Rampage stays on TNT. So the move of Dynamite moving to TBS, that'll be January 5th, 2022. And I hope that Rampage later on can become 2 hours officially on TNT, because 1 hour is not good enough. To me, it's not good enough. It's always been a 2 hour show. Wrestling is always a 2 hour show. Unless if you want to do it like a Saturday night type of thing, then that's an hour, you know? But with Dynamite coming up with the tapings for Saturday night, and I don't know if it's taping or live, we don't even know if it's an hour, 2 hours. Probably it is 2 hours, but still the feeling won't be the same, whether it be live, not live, or move to a different night. Obviously it's a whole different twist, nonetheless. So now moving on with Impact Wrestling, there's really not much to tell. There were some really interesting things that we watched, but I think what really hit the pike, so to speak, was the fact that Josh Alexander, one of the best X division champions of this generation, is really on fire right now on Impact. Him having to play the option C card where he gives up the X Division title and goes for the Impact World title and challenges Christian Cage at Bound for Glory. I think that's a huge step up. That's going to be a very interesting match. Can't wait for that to happen. Um, there were other things that took place as well. Hikuleo, part of Bullet Club, representing, got his one-on-one with David Finley. Obviously, a different venue in the United States. They're bringing their Japan rivalry all the way to the U.S., and we got to see, just a bit of it there. But at the end, Bullet Club was still represented by Hikuleo and the recent newest member, Chris Bay. Uh, Other things took place as well. Saw the match of Matthew Raywall against Trey Miguel 1-on-1. That was pretty spectacular. Laredo Kid and John Skyler was something else as well. Um, Skyler's still a pretty heavy beast, but Laredo Kid is definitely not one to slow down, as he is quick witted with his aerial moves and blasting Hurricane Ranas and all that stuff. And then of course we also witnessed Mickie James having to bring her hardcore country back into the ring, and also the Knockouts champion, the Virtuosa, won. Obviously, was not keen to the fact because obviously she's got a chip on her shoulder with Mickie James being there, but everything with NWA Empower has already been done with. Now Mickie James just wants a piece of the Knockouts champion, and obviously it's going to take place at Bound for Glory. So for Deonna Purrazzo, her work is being cut out for, but I think this is going to be another one in the history books. If she wants to get one over Mickie James, she's got to get ready for the biggest match of her lifetime coming up for Bound for Glory. Otherwise, it's going to be Mickie James's return to the ring, and she could easily defeat the Virtuoso one. Now we move on to the card of Extreme Rules. That's going to take place tomorrow night. Here in the United States, it's going to be seen on Peacock, but if you're anywhere around the world, obviously you still got the WWE Network. So, the matches that we will address are the following. The women's title. Bianca Belair. She gets her rematch against the man and current SmackDown Women's Champion Becky Lynch. I gotta say that Becky Lynch's heelism is really paying off. We got to see that mean, cute and pouty villainous of sorts with the man. But of course, Bianca's staying on the ground, and she knows that she can get that women's championship back, but it won't take no 26 seconds to do so. Obviously, she's going to show the man why she is the EST of WWE and everything else. But we're going to take a little bit of a sound chip back from SmackDown, of course, what took place this past Friday, because, everything that Becky said was definitely on point when it came to, being ready and being available when WWE wanted to get the situation with Bianca Belair and Sasha Banks taken care of for SummerSlam. Becky was available. She was there. She was open. And despite the finish, I don't think everybody appreciated that, Bianca was defeated in 26 seconds, and we seen a new SmackDown Women's Champion. I didn't care. We got Becky Lynch. She's back. She's ready to kick ass. She's ready to show the world why she is the man. But now the fact of the matter is, this match is not going to be a 26-second match. This is going to be one for the history books. This is going to be one where we see Bianca Belair go up to the top again at the expense of the man, or is the man really staying on top still as SmackDown Women's Champion? Let's take a listen to what took place this past Friday night on SmackDown.
Because while you were away, I know you was watching me. You was watching me match every single one of your accomplishments in your career, like winning the Royal Rumble, main eventing WrestleMania.
See that pouty look on her face?
Mm-hmm. Only I did it in a quarter of the time. Oh. And I won an ESPY, so put some respect on my name.
See that pouty look on her face?
Come on, Esther, you're only good because I showed the world how to be great. Wow, you know what? You're really holding on to this glory of beating me at SummerSlam in a match that wasn't even supposed to happen in 26 seconds. match is happening this Sunday, and you best believe it's not going to end in 26 seconds. Oh, it's going to be the EST versus what you call the greatest woman to ever hold that title. Well, the winner's going to be the strongest, the fastest, the roughest, the toughest, the quickest, the greatest, and the new SmackDown Women's Champion.
Oh, another handshake situation between these two.
Yeah, the fact that there is no handshake here. Oh! Ah.
The man just smacked the EST of WWE right above.
Yeah, the EST caught a smackdown from the man. What does the EST do? She blasted on the man.
Becky sending Belair into the corner. And looking for a repeat of last week with a man handle slam the same way that she would win the championship. Not again, with a kiss of death for KOD. The EST of the WWE. Bianca Belair is all business.
How about that? How about that? The question is Bianca in full of what she says she's going to do to Becky Lynch? She wants to get back the title back at all cost. She will show that this is not going to be a 26-second match, that this was going to be a fight for her life, literally, to gain back the championship. That, quite frankly, be despite the circumstances, everything was against her. And yeah, it was one of those surprising, like, WTF moments. But at the same time, it's like, we're glad to see her back. But now the fact of it is that Bianca Belair, her work is being cut out for here to get back a championship that she really shouldn't have lost in the first place.
Well, if we go back a month ago, when the way how the match was between Bianca and Becky, a lot of people were saying it should have been a legitimate match where Becky could have legitimately defeated Bianca Belair. But now, as we fast forward to what's going to happen on Sunday, pretty much Bianca's going to let her know that thanks for waking me up, Becky, and it's a miracle why she didn't say to her face, Becky, you're nothing more than a spotlight whore. But well, that's what the gimmick rightfully is. I mean, for heel interpretation, but we cannot discount the fact that Becky's always on her A game. And that's the one thing that Bianca needs to bring, because for someone who claims to be the fastest, the roughest, the strongest, all those every word that goes with the suffix of EST, Bianca has to bring that mindset, that mentality come Sunday if she really wants to regain the SmackDown Women's Championship. She's got to be in her in game just to show Becky Lynch that she's no walk in the park. She can be a legitimate contender, because we saw the match that she had with Sasha Banks at WrestleMania, and make no mistake, she will do the same thing again with Becky Lynch. But we'll see what things go come Sunday.
Will the EST be the EST of WWE again and be the newest of SmackDown Women's Champion yet again? She would become the 2-time SmackDown Women's Champion in her career, of course. But can it be done? I guess we will see tomorrow night on WWE Extreme Rules. Yes, indeed. Um, Another match that is on the card. We understand that Carmella will go one-on-one with Liv Morgan. Uh, Also, there will be a triple threat for the United States Championship. Uh, Damian Priest will defend his title against Jeff Hardy and Sheamus. That one is going to be really interesting. Also, another women's championship on the line, and that's the Raw Women's Championship that's going to be defended. The Queen, Charlotte Flair, will defend her championship against Alexa Bliss. And lately, with the promos and the verbiage that they've been have delivered on each other as of late, it really started to escalate. Especially how this past Raw, another good show by the way. That's already 2 in a row. So keep it up with what you guys are doing. It's starting to spike up a little bit. It's starting to get just interesting. But you need to still keep that formula intact. Don't get off the rails just now. Don't get off the rails just now. Um, the dialogue that Charlotte and Alexa had, obviously, it's not so focused on the characters, but the fact that, it's starting to get a little real here with them too, because it's been mentioned before that nobody in that locker room actually likes working with Charlotte. And supposedly Alexa's name was mentioned amongst them because of the name that obviously is carried, which is like right now, that is still in the doghouse, so to speak, because of all of his past allegations. That still to this day, he states that if I don't remember, there's really nothing for me to state if it's true or not. Um, but nonetheless, Charlotte has over the years busted her ass, showed why she is, the queen and such, and why she has been the 11th time women's champion in her career.
Well, the thing of it is that the history between Alexa and Charlotte dates back years, and pretty much a lot of fans have been wondering when will Alexa Bliss get a win over Charlotte Flair, especially now with the World Championship on the line. But pretty much the way how these two judged each other, because Alexa mentioned her father, but Charlotte gave it back to Alexa Bliss, saying the problem with, I mean, you're like this character that you're portraying is not, you did not create this character. You pretty much took it from someone else, and of course that someone else will say again. She's pretty much saying the problem with you is that you claim yourself to be the goddess and all that stuff, but she's saying in actuality you're nothing more than a weakling that's just wasting people's time. You're wasting your own time. Your past accolades don't mean nothing, because she pretty much said you're not worth people's time. She pretty much saying if you didn't learn the first time when they faced off at Survivor Series, and the heat that Alexa got within a matter of years as well. She's pretty much saying, I'm the woman, I'm the one who busted. You're nothing more than a stupid blonde who's never gonna amount to anything. But pretty much the WWE Universe wants to know, can Alexa Bliss get her first win over Charlotte Flair, especially for the Raw Women's Championship?
And especially how recently Alexa gave Charlotte a doll in the form of Charlie that kind of looks, representation of the queen, but also letting Charlotte know how she's acting, what she truly is, and all of that jazz. So let's go back to the audio clip from this past Monday on Raw, and you'll notice how the verbiage has been exchanged between these two and how things have been going up to the hype as it leads into their match for Extreme Rules.
I want Alexa Bliss. I want the old Alexa Bliss back. I want the 5 Feet of Fury. I want the Mean Girl. I want the once upon a time championship material. But here's the thing. You can fool everyone here. You can fool everyone at home, but you can't fool me. Because you want to know what all of this is? This is a pathetic attempt to hide how fragile, how delicate you really are. You know you're broken. I know you're broken. We both know that's why you hide behind this playground. The doll, the dress, the pigtails, that nasty, nasty, nasty black lipstick. Please wipe it off. You used to walk to this ring with a title in your arm. Now you walk to the ring with a doll in your arm. How does it feel that the doll is more popular than you? So now that we're talking about the old Alexa, here's the thing. The only reason that you were champion in the past is because I was on SmackDown, you were on Raw, vice versa. But now that we're both on Raw, I find your mind games to be a joke. But the one mind game that I can't comprehend is how did I go from main eventing WrestleMania 35 to Monday Night Raw playing with dolls? But here's the thing, I get it. All of this is all a desperate cry for help. So I'm going to make it my job to beat the sense back into you. So, do you want me to do that tonight? Or do you want me to wait till this Sunday at Extreme Rules? Oh my gosh, Charlotte, we get it. You're the best. You're the champ. You're in your own league. No one can reach Charlotte. Do you not get sick and tired of hearing it like the rest of us do? We get it. I don't need to play mind games with you to expose your insecurities. They're stamped right on your forehead. You are just so terrified of the Raw Women's Championship moving on without you, leaving you here with nothing. I mean, what would you do? If you didn't have a title, how would you act? What would you say to these people out here? I didn't give you Charlie to play mind games. I gave you Charlie as a pity gift. Because I pity you. Because even a narcissistic, self-centered like you deserves happiness. Oh my gosh, who is Charlotte Flair without the championship? Well, good for you, Alexa. You're never gonna find out.
No.
Oh, the Queen's heard enough. Here we go. The heels are coming off. Oh. Target Lily as well. Alexa Bliss again. Trying to ground the Queen. This now catches the Raw Women's Champion. What? Piercing global shots aside, this match has got a whole lot more interesting between the Raw Women's Champion Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss at
Extreme Rules, yeah. We're gonna see if Alexa Bliss will not resort to mind games, so she could literally expose the insecurities that Queenie has in front of the entire WWE universe. And we're gonna see that tomorrow night when Alexa Bliss has a opportunity at the Raw Women's Championship and the Queen Charlotte Flair on Peacock. And as we move on, there are other matches that are on the card, believe it or not. But I do want to state, since I mentioned that Raw has been another good show this past Monday. What I really liked was the fact that um, Humberto Carrillo and Angel Garza have been put together. And since we are in Hispanic Heritage Month, um, they were put together as a tag team, and they faced off. Who were their opponents?
Mm.
I don't think it matters, right? Because they won the match, but they have something good here. And when you put them because they used to be rivals, when you put them together, they're obviously going to be a really good package. But now the thing of it is, will WWE act on that package? Will they let them keep rising? Because an idea like that, and you just let it wander in the smoke, that's going to be an opportunity wasted, to be honest. So they got something good there. Let it blossom, and let the family be represented the way that it should. Another thing that took place on Raw while we're still in the mode for matches on the card for Extreme Rules, Rhea Ripley and Nikki Ash, almost superhero, became for the first time ever the WWE Women's Tag Team Champions. They defeated um, Natalia and Tamina, and of course, they did before the match. They dedicated their match to the children for all of those that are obviously um, have issues with cancer and all of that. Since we're in the month of Connor's Cure, and that's still going on. Um, it was a really touching speech by Nikki Ashton, especially out of Rhea Ripley, who at times was kind of choked up, having to get her message out. But it was finally out in the open, and the universe was obviously appreciative of their dedication of the match towards the boys and girls that are out there, fighting every day, for them to live to see another day. And my best wishes to all of those kids that are in the fight, that are fighting the fight, and hopefully they can win the fight. Um, Also, Randy Orton and AJ Styles had another good match. We've seen them fight countless times, but this one really did the payoff, especially from the middle of the match towards the very end. We didn't get to see Omos interfere as much, and when he got caught, he got sent to the back. So obviously, there was a straight up one-on-one, even though AJ already anticipated a RKO out of nowhere, but then of course he got outsmarted by the timing of everything, and Randy Orton pulled off an RKO still, um, out of expectancy, and got the 1-2-3 nonetheless. So we know that the WWE title is not going to be on the line. That we know for sure, but the tag team titles are on the line. The SmackDown tag team titles are going to be on the line, as the Usos will defend them against the Street Profits this upcoming Sunday, tomorrow night on Peacock. And speaking of SmackDown, we knew that Andrew, one half of Street Profits, that would be the partner of Montez Ford, Angelo Dawkins, was not there this past SmackDown, but for sure, the team needed to be represented, and Montez Ford really wanted to get his message across to let the Usos know that they're ready and that they want the smoke. They want to get back the SmackDown tag team titles at all costs. So by calling them out being bloodline bitches, and obviously Roman was not happy with that comment, so went to Heyman and said, "Hey, I want a match with Montez Ford." And Montez Ford brought everything. I mean, everything, because he was just so hyped up for the moment. We've seen Montez Ford having those singles matches time and time again this year um, on SmackDown, and he did pretty good. But he was almost close. I mean, almost close from getting a win from the Tribal Chief, and yet that did not happen. But still, was an exciting match nonetheless. It was a hell of a main event, and with the Tribal Chief and the Demon. And we all know what's going to happen, what's going to be the end result, because, we've been into this story way in too deep. But what are the chances, Jade, of the Demon actually defeating the Tribal Chief and becoming the Universal Champion?
Well, the Demon Finn Balor, it doesn't matter whether he's just playing Finn Balor or Demon Finn Balor.
Demon Finn Balor.
Yes. He wants to get back the Universal title because it was his first major accolade on the WWE roster, and he can't wait to get it back. He worked his spot to come back to the main roster and regain the Universal Championship, but at the expense of the head of the table. Pretty much his chances are pretty much 30-1 because Roman is red hot. The bloodline is red hot. So pretty much with the Usos defending the tag team championships against the Street Profits, pretty much the bloodline is pretty much red hot right now, and the Usos will do everything it takes to retain those tag team titles, and of course likewise, Roman Reigns is willing to defend his position as the head of the table and find a way to keep that Universal Championship around his waist.
That is going to be a true tough task. We know that the Tribal Chief has never been in the ring with the Demon before. So this is going to be one of those expected questions of, can the Tribal Chief pull it off against the likes of the Demon? So with that, we seen that the Demon exposed in front of the Tribal Chief just several weeks ago, and of course, I barely saw Roman can barely get a reaction. Like if he's not scared, or if not even a twitch by just having the Demon in front of him. But obviously, getting the slave from the Demon would be a whole other thing. So we're gonna go back to an audio clip from SmackDown this past Friday, and we'll see the ending culmination of the match between the Tribal Chief and Montez Ford, and how the Bloodline got involved with annihilating one half of the Street Profits going into Extreme Rules. Let's take a listen now.
I counsel you to show Montez Ford, Finn Balor, the Demon, and even Brock Lesnar what happens when Roman Reigns takes it to the extreme.
That was classic.
Sunday. It is Extreme Rules.
Yeah, they're in Philadelphia too.
The only thing the official's going to do is either count 1, 2, 3 or call the tap out.
And Heyman was telling the director to cue the music for the Usos to come out.
Accepted by Montez earlier tonight. Yeah, the men that were called bitches by Montez Ford. And Roman Reigns assaulting Ford. Going extreme, just like on Sunday, where steel chairs will be legal. And tables as well. They've got the tables for Roman Reigns in Philadelphia. Montez Ford is defenseless. just a tiny taste of what could happen to the Demon on Sunday. Respect these lights. Wait a minute. What the hell's going on? Oh, no! Is that? Oh, yes! The Demon is rising.
And that's a crazy view.
The Demon! Take it out of the bloodline! The Demon's here! And the Demon has a kendo stick! And the Demon is going to scream on the bloodline! Looking to put him to sleep! Enter Sandman Demon! A taste of what is coming our way on Sunday. The Universal title defended in Extreme Rules, and the Demon with the sling blade. And now the Demon laying out the champion, punishing Roman Reigns, swinging the chair around and every member of the bloodline. You can eat some metal, says the Demon. And the Demon flies.
My goodness, are we amped up for Extreme Rules tomorrow night? We saw how the Demon got it on with the Bloodline, got extreme with them. And I like the headline, how the Demon Finn Balor got extreme with the Bloodline. Like literally took it to him. And I was amazed how everything went dark. The lights went red. And all of a sudden, I did not expect it. Never crossed my mind that we would see the Demon already posted up on top of the that LED post, looking at the Bloodline and then diving off of them and aiming towards them, launching at them, grabbing candlesticks and just going back and just going back and forth with the Usos, having to cane them, and then of course it was just Roman and the Demon. And then the Demon having to fly out over the top rope, landing on Roman. And that's how the show pretty much ended off. I mean, that was some hot stuff. And Extreme Rules is going to be good tomorrow night for sure. I hope that it's going to be a really good pay-per-view. That we will definitely see tomorrow night how huge of a payoff it will be with things starting to take into shape. And this is the last pay-per-view before the draft even comes to beginning on SmackDown this upcoming Friday. So with that, that is going to be our time up for that. And we will definitely say that we are only 2 episodes left of closing down our first season. On this next episode, we will definitely have the chat open to see if we can get some interaction with anybody that will be available to join us for next Saturday, and get honest opinions to see if we can still do this and hopefully do a second season. And also, what is your opinions of you guys thinking of who could be traded to Raw, who could be moved to SmackDown, and all of that jazz? Because it's going to be one heck of an interactive Saturday night when it comes to the draft, because anything is possible, anything can happen, and could there be even surprises of who can pop out of nowhere? There's been people that hasn't been seen in months that probably will make a comeback soon. You never know. People that have been let go could be signed back on. You never know. So it all depends on the atmosphere that the WWE is going to make it go of this once the draft comes to, when it begins this Friday on SmackDown for sure. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, that is all the time that we got for this evening. We appreciate that you joined us to watch this episode live. It will be on the archives of the channel of Ace Man Armageddon here on YouTube. We appreciate you guys for watching, and thank you very much for subscribing as of late when it comes to watching these episodes. all the archives that we got of the episodes that we have done, the wrestling footages that are still on the channel for you guys to watch, everything that we've done with the video games, with Mortal Kombat, with the interviews that we've done over the years as well. We appreciate it so much. This couldn't be possible without you guys. Thank you very much. So much. We are humble and we're happy to still stick around for the viewing pleasures of you guys. So with that, for the one and only Jade, I am Aceman. We will see you next Saturday for another episode close to the end of the season of the Wrestling Weekend Recap. Have a good night, everyone. Until then, stay safe, mask up, unless you got vaccine. Awesome. Until then, have a good night, everyone. Enjoy your weekend. Next Saturday for another edition of the Wrestling Weekend Recap. Have a good night, everyone.